You are watching Ghost Hunter Joe and Friends. If you like this content, make sure to like and subscribe. Now here's Ghost Hunter Joe.
Thank you, Kim, and welcome, viewers. Today's video features some ghost stories, which I hope you'll find interesting, that occurred at the former People's Hospital, located on the east side of Mansfield, Ohio, where I worked in different capacities on several occasions during my lengthy career in security, law enforcement, and corrections. My godson Thomas took this photograph of me in August of 2025, standing in front of my old workplace. I first worked here as a correction officer when I worked at the Ohio State Reformatory, and it contracted out a whole wing for its sick inmates, even when we didn't have any sick inmates. Not only was it a lucrative contract for the hospital, it was gravy duty for the correction officer assigned here, so I didn't get it very often. I also worked here during the mid-1980s when a private behavioral health unit was housed here. It housed first-time offender drug rehab residents. After the hospital closed, I worked here as contract security while the building stood empty and its fate was still undecided. No one knew whether or not they were going to use it for something or tear it down. From 2015 to 2016, I worked as a corrections officer at the alternative jail located on the second and third floors of the old hospital. The Richland County People's Building, formerly the People's Hospital, is also known as the Richland County Alternative Jail or Richland County Community Alternative Center. I took this photograph of it in August of 2025. It currently houses the Richland County 911 Call Center, the Richland County Emergency Operations Center, the Richland County Coroner's Office and Morgue, and the Richland County Sheriff Records, Administrative Offices, and Major Crimes Division. As a former hospital, there were probably a lot of deaths that occurred here, which would lend itself to being haunted. And the fact that the morgue is located right under the jail would be another reason for paranormal activity. Now here are my stories, followed by my friend and coworker Heather's. I was assigned to the second floor on the second shift. The second floor housed male inmates. The only interactions I had with female inmates were when I was giving the third floor officer breaks or when I took the inmates for smoke breaks. Nearly every jail or prison in the United States was non-smoking at that time, but since our director was a smoker, he made us take the inmates out for smoke breaks. Unlike the third shift, which only had two officers, one on the second floor and one on the third floor, first and second shifts had a total of 3 officers each, one assigned to the first floor, one assigned to the second floor, and a floater that filled in where needed and ran errands, such as picking up prescription medications from the various pharmacies and hot meals from the main jail. One day, I happened to be watching the cameras shortly after lights out, and I noticed an inmate in the day room slash TV room slash library. Inmates were required to go to the rooms at lights out. I contacted the floater and told him that there was an inmate in the second floor TV room. The floater reported to the TV room. I watched him over the camera stand in the TV room near the inmate and not say anything to the inmate, and then he came back to the officer station and told me that there's no one in the TV room. At this point, I reported to the TV room. Upon my arrival, I didn't see anyone there. When I returned to the officer station, the floater was watching the camera. Like me, he saw me go in and not say anything to the person in the TV room. He zoomed the camera in on the person in the TV room, and it was at this point that we both noticed that the person in the TV room was transparent. During the time that I worked at the alternative jail, There was a room on the second floor, I forget the room number, that was bigger and therefore more desirable than the other rooms. I think it was a corner room. Accordingly, inmates wanted this room and would request to be moved into it whenever it became vacant. But shortly after the inmates would move in, they would request to move out, claiming it was haunted, including inmates who claimed they didn't believe in ghosts prior to staying in that room.
Okay, we're here talking with my friend and co-worker, fellow ghost hunter, Heather. She used to work at the Richland County Community Alternative Center. Heather, how long did you work there?
About 10 years when
Okay.
I left.
Okay, and did you experience anything?
Several things.
Let me see if I remember this correctly from when I worked there. The second floor was the men's floor. The third floor was the women's floor and the administrative offices. And then on the first floor, all the way down at the bottom, was the morgue. Is that correct?
Morgue, yes.
Okay. Now, the section of the hospital that we used for the alternate jail, was, what did you hear that was?
That was the children's wing.
Let's talk about, you said you saw on the women's floor, you saw a little boy, and you saw him playing with a ball. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah. It was like one night, it was around full moon, I decided to turn off all the lights on the floor. And the only thing I had on was the infrared on the cameras. And there was a little boy, probably about 2-3 feet tall, not as tall as my desk, and he was playing catch, throwing the ball against my desk and catching it. I didn't hear it or anything, but I could see it on my camera. And other inmates would tell me they would see the boy bouncing the ball. They would hear it and see it, him walking up and down the hallway bouncing the ball.
Was it like a big ball, like a basketball, or a little ball, like a baseball?
It was more like a rubber bouncy ball when it's the
Okay.
kids with the cartoons on it.
Right.
Probably about 6-inch ball.
Okay.
Did you witness this ghost do anything else?
So I was playing with the ball. He would play with the inmates' bedding. Like he'll play with their blankets, pulling them off of them and stuff.
You'd pull the sheets and covers?
Yeah.
Did you see this, or the inmates told you?
The inmates would tell me that. And then sometimes he would wake them up by playing with his ball and making a lot of noise.
You also said that on the men's floor there was a little girl.
Yes.
What did she do?
You will see a silhouette like on the cabinet of a little girl, probably about 3 foot tall. I was up to the sign. It says security on our cabinet. And you see this silhouette. She would, any officers who would work on the men's floor who had long hair, she would play with it. And like you can see the hair lift up.
So you were telling me about your friend named Tom. He had long hair.
Yeah.
And you were watching him on the camera?
Yeah.
Okay, tell us what happened.
His hair would come up, like up to, like you can see it lift up to his shoulders, about the height of the girl. Then you'll see it fall, like she was like sitting there playing with his hair, and like little kids would do with their mom's hair, like lift up and let it fall, like she was like trying to brush it. Though it looked like.
Okay, did he notice it or feel it?
No, he did not. I asked him. I was like, I'm sitting here watching things. Like, I was like, I'm not doing anything. I'm just sitting here, and he didn't even notice it was going on.
Did this little girl do anything else?
Yeah. The little girl, I never heard it, but I've had other people tell me about it. like they'll hear like a whisper of a little girl like looking for a mom, and she'll say, "Mom, mommy, mom," like she was looking for her parents.
Tell us about the time the lights came on in a certain office.
This was Halloween, full moon night. I had the only keys to administration offices. I was the only one up on the female floor, only guard up on the female floor. All the inmates were in bed, locked down for the night. It was just me and the male officer who was in charge of the male's floor. All of a sudden, the lights came on back in the administrator's office. Mainly was the case manager who was the counselor. His lights came on. Then when I walked over to see if someone was in there, the lights went off. And I went back to my desk. A few minutes later, the lights came on. And I walked over there one more time. Then they finally stopped coming on. But they came on. But since I walked over, they would shut themselves off.
So no one was in the area?
No.
No one had keys to the area?
No.
And the lights came on, and when you went to shut them off, they went off?
Yeah.
And then after you left, they came on again?
Yeah. Then they now walked over again one more time, then they shut off, and they never came back on. That only happened once, and that was Halloween, full moon.
Interesting. Okay, so what can you tell us about the lady in white?
I never seen her, but I had several inmates tell me about her, and a few co-workers tell me about her. She was a nurse who used to work at the old people's building, used to be a hospital. She was a respiratory therapist who worked with people with breathing problems, asthma, COPD, and everything. Anybody who had breathing problems.
She died? Did she die at the hospital, or she just worked at the hospital?
She just worked at the hospital. Like her soul went back to where she was the happiest. Was at the hospital, and she was. Well, I was told she was a respiratory therapist.
And certain inmates saw her?
Yes.
And others didn't?
Yes.
What type of inmates saw her?
Mainly any inmates with breathing problems.
Were the inmates that saw this ghost?
Yes.
Okay, and you believe the ghost was a nurse that used to work at the People's Hospital?
Yeah, and she was. The rumor is she was murdered by a local cop because that local cop got her pregnant and she would not abort the child, and he killed her because he didn't want his wife finding out he had a mistress. Mm-hmm. And then, like, my co-worker, who's Dan, he used to work there when it was a hospital, and then he worked there as a security guard for the jail and stuff. He said after she was murdered, he'll go by her office, he'll walk into her office, and it would be like walking into an ice box, into a freezer. Wow. And that's the only room it would be that cold.
Can you tell us about the time you were watching the cameras and you saw a fire in the TV room?
I'd be working the night shift on the female floor. In the TV room, it looked like on the cameras it was on fire, like the tables were on fire. I would get up, I would walk down there. When I get down there, the tables were not on fire. There was no smoke or anything.
It would be interesting to know if there was ever a fire in that room.
I'm just curious, when it was a hospital, when patients used to be able to smoke in the rooms, if someone actually set a bed on fire or set a table on fire in that room.
Can you tell me a story about a psychic inmate that you met?
Yeah, she was like a nutcase, and she would go off, and she'd be tearing her cell up and everything else. And I knew she knew sign language. When she was getting really loud, being really destructive, I would go up to the door at the window and I would start talking to her in sign language until she would calm down. When she calmed down, we'll hold a conversation. She said there's two older guys standing behind you. And she described them to me. I didn't say anything. I was like, okay.
The
But when-
older guys like ghosts.
Yeah, they were like ghosts. She said, I sense like people there is protecting you and stuff. And when she described, I didn't tell her when she described them. To me, it was my two grandfathers who passed. One was a correction officer. Then the other one was my other grandfather who passed many years ago before my other grandfather did. But say there's like two gentlemen and there's a few other people that's around you. Like there's like she said, there's like a circle around you.
Protecting you.
Like protecting you.
That's interesting. Now, the one that grandfather that was a correctional officer was the one I knew.
Yes.
Is the People's Community Building, including the alternative jail located on its second and third floors, haunted? I will leave it up to each viewer to decide for himself or herself, and hope that you enjoyed hearing Heather's and my stories. And this is Ghost Hunter Joe saying goodbye and see you next time.
Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to smash that like button and subscribe.